Hello, and welcome back to the Velvet Room. I am Kaluna, an attendant of Master Igor, here to oversee the Persona Compendium. There will be spoilers for the events of Persona 3, so if you wish to avoid those, turn back now. So, shall you join me for another story today? Let us spin a tale.
Io was a mortal woman who lived during the time of the Greek gods. She was a beautiful woman, in some versions a princess, in others a priestess of the goddess Hera. Her father, Inachus, in some versions of the story, throws Io out after she confesses that Zeus has been visiting her in her dreams, and he doesn't want to suffer the wrath of the gods. While in the dreams, Io rejects Zeus. It isn't until after she is thrown out of her father's home that she begins her affair with Zeus. The commonality in these myths is that while Zeus falls in love with Io, he was afraid of the wrath of Hera, his wife. Zeus uses clouds to try and hide the place where he was with Io, but Hera grew suspicious. The most common version of the myth tells us that Zeus, in an attempt to hide his infidelity, transforms Io into a white cow after Hera breaks through the clouds. Hera is not stupid, however, and insists that Zeus present this beautiful animal to her as a gift. Zeus could not object without revealing himself, so he allows Hera to take Io. Hera would not allow Zeus to see her, and she charges Argus, a giant with 100 eyes, to always watch over Io. Zeus, in order to rescue Io, enlists the help of Hermes, the most clever of all the gods. What made Argus such a great watchman was that, since he had 100 eyes, he could sleep but still keep several eyes open in order to watch over Io. Hermes, however, with a combination of his pipe playing and storytelling, manages to lull Argus into a sleep that shuts all 100 eyes. Hermes slew Argus, though Io's freedom was not quite secured. Hera sent a gadfly to plague Io, as she was still in the form of a cow, and Io wandered, nearly driven to madness. At long last, though, she encountered a chained Prometheus, who gave her a prediction of the future, telling her to travel to Egypt, where she would be freed from her curse. In turn, her descendant, Hercules, would set Prometheus free from his bonds. Io traveled to the Nile River, and was restored to her human form by Zeus. She had several children with him, who would go on to become heroes and kings. Io is always portrayed as beautiful and tragic, suffering a terrible fate that she was not responsible for. Portrayed as a stoic victim, eventually her perseverance and patience are rewarded, and she is able to be restored to her human form. Yukari Takeba wields the persona Io as her initial persona. Her arcana is the Lovers, appropriate for one who wields the lover of a god. Like Io, Yukari is beautiful but has suffered tragedy as a result of other people. Her father, Eiichiro, was one of the scientists working with the Kirijo group while they were experimenting on shadows. However, once he learns of the devastation that will happen if Nyx is summoned, he tampers with the experiment and breaks the shadow meant to summon Nyx into 13 pieces, later seen in the game as the major shadows that the Seas group fights each month. The separation triggered an explosion, killing Eiichiro, the other scientists, and creating the Dark Hour. After Eiichiro's death, Yukari's mother begins sleeping around with random men, causing her and Yukari to become distant and antagonistic towards each other. Yukari initially blamed the Kirijo group for her father's demise, but when she learns about his part in it, she becomes conflicted and emotionally breaks down. She eventually comes to terms with this, and as a result becomes closer to Mitsuru, who she was initially cold to. A lot of the suffering that Yukari goes through is the result of other people making decisions that affect her life. The Kirijo group, her father, her mother, and even Ikutsuki, who alters the tape her father left for her to trick her into summoning Nyx. Like Io, she isn't responsible for a lot of the bad things that have happened to her. Yukari joined the Seas group initially to find out more information about her father's death, but it takes a long time before she finally gets the answer she is looking for. She meanders and wanders a bit, getting tied up in other people's stories before finally getting back to her own. As Io wandered for a long time for answers, so too does Yukari, and it isn't until someone else steps in and tells her that she will be alright that she finally is at peace with herself. When she gets the unedited tape after Ikutsuki is killed, she sees the real message that her father had left for her, telling her he loves her and wishes for her happiness. Her persona evolves into Isis, an Egyptian goddess, referring back to Io's journey to Egypt to gain her humanity back. There aren't as many elements of Io's story that affect Yukari directly, compared to some of the other personas we have covered. She hates being seen as a damsel or weak, and she tries to do everything on her own. However, it isn't until she learns to trust others and accept her negative qualities that she evolves as a person. So in this case, the callbacks to Io's myths within her own life are seen as excuses that she makes for her behavior. Io's persona design is one of the most human-looking out of the C's group, which are much more mechanical in design overall. Yukari is a very emotional person, so Io's more human design shows how much her emotions dictate her psyche. Like Orpheus, Io's colorization is like a photo negative of Yukari. She has a pink dress on, both to represent her femininity, but also as a callback to Yukari's pink sweater. Io is chained and bound to a chair in the design of a cow, to show how Io was trapped both literally and metaphorically. Zeus had changed her body to a cow, and Hera had trapped her in the Watch of Argus. The colorization of the cow is a silver, almost white color, just as she had been a white cow. The overall colors of Io are pale and muted, another indication of her passive nature. Finally, at the bottom of the cow there is the astrological symbol for Tauros, the bull that has been used to represent both Zeus, who has disguised himself as a bull in previous myths, and less commonly, Io. Io's general design is very feminine and delicate. Without knowing the myth behind her, the girl looks like a trapped princess, with her long blonde hair and pink dress. Yukari is described by the designers of the game as a relatable and contemporary girl, who is very kind and cheerful but can be sarcastic towards those she finds annoying. Io uses wind and healing magic, both of which are more seen used by feminine characters. The wind might be a small reference to the clouds that Zeus attempted to use to obscure Io from Hera's gaze, but more likely it is to work in tandem with Yukari's weapon of choice, a bow and arrow. She is a member of the archery club at Gekkoukan High School. Overall, while there are aspects of Io's myths that come into play with Yukari's story, the most important quality that the two share was perseverance. Despite some emotional turbulence, both women managed to get their lives together and move past a tragedy inflicted upon them. Yukari's emotional strength does affect the design of Io, but the muted colors and passiveness that Io shows in her design reflects how much Yukari feels trapped within her family's tragedy. It isn't until she sees that her father was a good man and was willing to sacrifice his life to do what is right that Io evolves into Isis. Yukari no longer views herself as a victim, instead taking more responsibility for her actions and working together with her friends to stop Nyx's revival.
Thank you for joining me here in the Velvet Room. I hope you have enjoyed your stay here. Feel free to return again, and we can read more from the compendium. If you would like to show your support for my stories, feel free to like and subscribe. As we all know, the almighty algorithms constantly bend us to their will, so your generous support is always welcome. My name is Kaluna, and I look forward to your next visit.
Hey everyone, just wanted to let you know I have a Patreon page. If you're not familiar with Patreon by now, it's a website that allows you to donate a small amount each month to your favorite content creators. You'll get a bunch of different rewards depending on the amount that you donate. Feel free to check out my page to see what kind of rewards that you can get by helping to donate. Every little bit helps, and helps to make this show even better, so wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. Thanks.